the accident and the rescue. The night sky above the desert planet was burning red. A huge explosion had shaken the ground only moments ago. Pieces of broken metal were falling like rain. The smell of smoke and fire spread into the cold air. Ethan, a human engineer, was not supposed to be here. His small shuttle had been forced to land after his navigation system failed. He was only trying to repair his ship when he saw the fire in the distance. Something big had crashed, and his instincts told him that someone might need help. He ran across the rocky ground, his boots slipping on loose stones. The wreckage of a large alien craft lay before him, torn open like a wounded beast. Sparks jumped from broken wires. Flames ate at the edges of twisted panels. The sight was terrifying, but he pushed forward, coughing against the smoke. A faint sound reached his ears. It was not the crackle of fire or the groan of bending steel. It was softer, weaker, like a whimper. Ethan froze, listening again. Yes, it was a child's cry. He rushed toward the sound, pushing aside a heavy metal plate. There, half buried under debris, was a small alien child. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes glowing faintly even through tears. She clutched her chest, blood seeping from a deep wound. Her breathing was shallow, her life fading away. Ethan's heart pounded. He dropped to his knees and pulled her free. Her body was light, fragile, trembling in his arms. He looked around desperately. No medkit, no doctors, nothing. Only his human hands and a dying child. "Stay with me, little one," he whispered, though he knew she could not understand his words. Still, her glowing eyes locked on his face, full of fear and pain. The bond of need was clear. He had to try something, anything. He tore a strip from his shirt and pressed it against her wound, but the blood kept flowing, strange and dark. Unlike human blood, it would not stop. Her small hand gripped his wrist weakly as if begging him not to leave. Ethan's mind raced. He had studied engineering, not medicine, but he knew the basics of life-saving. Still, this was no human child. Her body worked differently. Nothing he knew could explain how to heal her. Then a wild thought entered his mind. What if his own blood could help? It was insane, dangerous, impossible. But what choice did he have? Her breathing was weaker now, her eyes closing. If he waited, she would die in his arms. He searched his bag quickly. There was a small emergency kit with tools for repairs and survival. Among them was a simple tube meant for water transfer. It could work, if he dared. He took out a sharp tool and cut a line across his own arm. Blood welled up, red and human. He guided the tube from his cut to the child's wound. At first, nothing happened. Then, her body seemed to react, pulling. In the blood. The wound stopped spreading, the flow slowed, Ethan's breath caught. Was it working? He felt weak as his blood drained, but he did not stop. The child's chest rose a little higher, her breathing stronger. Her eyes opened wider, glowing with new light. The bleeding stopped. The wound sealed with a faint shimmer. She was alive, Ethan. Almost collapsed in relief, his vision blurred from blood loss, but he smiled. Because the small alien child was looking at him, not with fear now, but with something else. Trust. Gratitude. She whispered a sound, soft and broken, but full of meaning. Though Ethan did not know her language, he understood. She was saying, "Thank you." He held her close as the wreckage burned around them. The fire roared, but in the middle of that destruction, a miracle had taken place. One human, one alien child, bound together by blood. Neither of them knew it yet, but this single act would change both their lives forever. Ethan looked up at the dark horizon. He felt the weight of destiny pressing down on him. Somewhere out there, the child's people would come. And when they did, nothing would ever be the same. The alien mother appears. The night was quiet again. The fire from the wreckage burned lower, glowing like dying stars in the sand. Ethan sat against a rock, the alien child resting in his arms. His arm still ached from the blood he had given. His body weak, but his mind stayed sharp, listening to every sound in the darkness. The child had fallen asleep, her silver skin glowing faintly under the strange moonlight. She looked peaceful now, but Ethan knew danger was not over. Someone had to come searching for her, and when they did, they might not care that a human saved her life. A sharp noise split the silence. The ground trembled with heavy steps. Ethan tensed, gripping a broken metal rod like a weapon. Then he saw her. A tall figure emerged from the smoke. Her armor shone, black and silver marked with strange glowing symbols. Her eyes blazed golden like fire trapped in crystal. Her face was sharp, beautiful, but cold as a blade. She was no child, she was a warrior, and she was angry. The alien woman's gaze went straight to the child in Ethan's arms. Her steps quickened, her presence like a storm moving closer. Ethan raised his hand slowly, showing no threat. But she already drew a long weapon from her back, a blade that hummed with deadly energy. Her voice cut through the air, strong and furious. Though Ethan could not understand the words, he knew the meaning. She thought he had harmed her child. She was ready to strike. The child stirred, opening her glowing eyes. She saw the woman and cried out one word. A name. At once, the warrior froze. The blade stopped just an inch from Ethan's chest. Her golden eyes widened in shock, then in relief. This was no stranger, this was the child's mother. The child reached weakly toward Ethan. Her small voice spoke again. And though Ethan didn't know the language, her tone was clear. She was telling her mother what had happened. She was saying, "He saved me." The mother's weapon lowered, but not completely. Her gaze shifted to Ethan's wounded arm, then to the sealed scar on her daughter's chest. Understanding flashed across her face, mixed with disbelief. She stepped back, staring at him as if he were not a man, but something impossible. Alien. Soldiers rushed from the shadows, following their commander. They surrounded Ethan instantly, weapons raised, eyes filled with hate. One wrong move, and they would kill him where he sat. But the mother raised her hand sharply, and all of them froze. Her voice rang with command, her words like thunder. Even her soldiers obeyed without question. She stepped closer again, kneeling before her daughter. She touched the child gently, brushing away tears. Then she looked at Ethan once more, her golden eyes burning into his soul. There was no gratitude in her stare, only a deep and heavy weight, something that felt stronger than law, older than any custom. The soldiers whispered to each other. Ethan could not understand their words, but he felt their fear. They looked at him not as prey, but as something cursed or chosen. He realized then that giving his blood to the child was not a small thing. It was something forbidden, something sacred. And now he was part of it. Whether he liked it or not, the mother finally spoke in broken human tongue, her voice deep and fierce. "You gave blood to her." Ethan nodded slowly, his throat dry. "Yes," he said. "I had no choice. She was dying." Her eyes narrowed, as if testing his truth. Then she spoke words that froze his heart. "You are bound now." Bound. Ethan didn't understand, but the way the soldiers lowered their eyes, the way the mother's voice carried weight, he knew this was not just about saving a child. This was something larger, something that could not be undone. The mother lifted the child gently into her arms, but the girl still reached out toward Ethan, refusing to let go, her small hand held tight to his shirt. The bond was real, visible, undeniable. The mother watched this in silence, her expression unreadable. Then she gave an order to her soldiers. Instead of killing Ethan, they took him prisoner. As they walked away from the burning wreckage, Ethan's heart pounded. He had survived. He had saved a life. But now he was trapped in something he did not understand. The child's mother walked in front, proud and powerful, her golden eyes flicking back at him, not with kindness, not with hatred, but with a strange fire. A fire that promised his life would never be the same again. In the distance, the alien city's lights glowed on the horizon. Ethan did not know it yet, but every step he took brought him closer to a destiny he could never escape. The bond of blood had already chosen his path, and soon the mother would demand the price. The bond and the conflict. The alien city was like nothing Ethan had ever seen. Great towers of black stone rose into the sky, their sides carved with glowing lines that pulsed like veins. Bridges hung between the towers like webs of silver, and strange flying machines hummed above. The soldiers marched him through tall gates, their eyes cold, their weapons always close. The mother walked in front, her daughter resting in her arms, the girl's small hand still reaching for Ethan even as she drifted in sleep. Inside the city, whispers followed them. Crowds of alien citizens stopped and stared. Their golden eyes flicked from Ethan's pale human skin to the mother's proud figure, and when they saw the child alive, carried by her mother, their whispers grew louder. Ethan didn't know their words, but he knew fear when he saw it. They looked at him as if he was not a man but a storm, a stranger who had broken a sacred rule. At last they entered a great hall carved from black stone. Tall flames burned in iron bowls, and symbols glowed on the walls like living light. The soldiers shoved Ethan to the floor before a circle of elders, old aliens with long robes and sharp eyes, their faces carved with wisdom and judgment. The mother stepped forward and spoke, her voice strong, her words fast and heavy. Though Ethan could not understand, he felt the weight of every sound. She told them about the crash, about the dying child, and about him. The elders' eyes turned on Ethan like blades. One of them hissed, his voice sharp as steel. The soldiers moved closer as if waiting for the order to kill, but then the child woke. She slipped from her mother's arms and ran to Ethan, wrapping her small arms around his neck. Her silver skin glowed brighter where she touched him. The entire hall froze, watching. Even the elders' faces shifted from anger to shock. The mother looked at Ethan, her golden eyes fierce but uncertain. Then she spoke in broken human tongue again. "You gave blood. You changed her. She is bound to you." Ethan swallowed hard, his voice rough. "I only wanted to save her." Her answer was sharp, her words cutting deep. "Saving her is not small. Now her life carries your life. She cannot live without you." The hall erupted in shouts, the elders' voices like thunder. Ethan caught only one word repeated again and again. "Bond, bond, bond." The soldiers lowered their eyes, afraid. Even the proud mother's voice wavered as she faced the circle of power. At last, one elder rose, his robe glowing with golden threads. He pointed at Ethan with a trembling hand. "This human is not outsider now. He is part of the child. He is part of her blood." The words echoed through the chamber like a sentence of fate. The mother turned back to Ethan, her jaw set like stone. "You cannot leave," she said. "You are family now." Her words struck him like chains. Family? He had no family on Earth, no one waiting for him. But this was not chosen by him. This was a law written by blood, a law he had never agreed to. "I never asked for this," Ethan said, his voice breaking between anger and fear. "I saved her, because it was right, not because I wanted to be part of this world." The mother's eyes burned brighter, her voice deep and final. "You think you choose? No, human. The blood chooses. The bond is stronger than choice." The child pressed her face into Ethan's chest, refusing to let go. Her small hands clung to him as if she understood every word, and Ethan's heart twisted, torn between wanting freedom and not wanting to hurt her. For the first time since he arrived, he felt the true weight of what he had done. By giving his blood, he had tied himself to this child forever. The elders gave their final command, their voices echoing across the chamber. "The bond is sacred. He will not be killed. He will live with the child. He will live with the mother." The soldiers bowed, and even the proud warrior mother lowered her head for a moment. But when she lifted her gaze to Ethan, there was no softness, only fire, only demand. Her words struck him like a blade. "You are mine now." The hall went silent. Ethan's breath caught in his chest. Her golden eyes locked on his, not with love, not yet, but with something heavier, a claim, a vow, a storm he could not escape. And in that silence, Ethan realized the truth. He had saved a child, but in doing so, he had stepped into a war of hearts, laws, and blood, a war that would either destroy him or make him more than human. The hidden threat. The alien city was quiet at night, but Ethan could not sleep. He sat inside a stone chamber, the walls glowing faintly with silver lines. The child lay nearby, breathing softly, her small hand still, clutching the edge of his sleeve even in dreams. The mother stood near the doorway, her tall figure framed by the light of burning torches. She was like a shadow carved from steel. Always watching, never resting, Ethan's mind raced. He thought of Earth, of the simple life he had lost. And now, here he was, bound by blood to an alien child, trapped by the law of a people he barely understood. He felt the weight of invisible chains, but heavier still was the mother's gaze, golden and sharp. He could not escape it. Then, in the silence, a low hum filled the air. At first, Ethan thought it was just another strange machine in the city, but the mother stiffened, her hand snapping to the weapon at her side. Her golden eyes narrowed, scanning the darkness beyond the chamber. The hum grew louder, shifting into a series of clicks and pulses. The child stirred in her sleep. Her glow flickering like a candle in the wind, Ethan's heart pounded. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. Suddenly, a flare of red light streaked across the window slit. An explosion shook the ground, rattling the walls of the chamber. The mother's voice cut sharp, full of command. "Raiders!" she spat, the word bitter even in broken human tongue. The child woke with a cry, clinging to Ethan before he could move. The mother was already in action. She pulled him to his feet, thrusting a small weapon into his hand, a strange curved blade that hummed like fire trapped in metal. "You fight," she said coldly, "or you die." Ethan barely had time to respond before the chamber doors burst open. Figures poured in. Raiders, their armor jagged and black, their eyes burning red instead of gold. They moved like predators, their voices hissing with hunger. Ethan felt his blood turn cold. They weren't after him. They were after the child. The raiders lunged forward. The mother met them head-on, her blade a blur of silver light. She cut, down two in an instant, her movements fierce and perfect. Ethan stumbled back, shielding the child, his hand shaking as he raised the alien blade. One raider broke through, rushing toward him. Ethan swung wildly, the blade clashing with a shower of sparks. His arms trembled, his body weak, but adrenaline kept him standing. He shoved forward, desperate, and by pure luck the blade cut through the raider's chest. The creature fell, hissing in rage. The child's small voice cried out. Ethan turned just in time to see another raider grab her by the arm. "No!" Ethan roared, his voice echoing. He charged, slamming into the raider with all his strength. The blade struck again, this time guided by something deeper than skill. The raider collapsed, the child free once more. The mother fought like a storm. Her blade flashed, her armor dripped with sparks of broken steel. But even she began to falter. The raiders were many, more than she had expected. Their leader stepped into the chamber, taller and darker than the rest. His armor was marked with blood-red symbols, and his voice cut through the battle like a knife. "Give us the child," he hissed. "She carries the bond. She carries the power." Ethan froze. They knew. They knew about the blood, about the bond. This was not just a simple raid. This was a hunt for the child because of him. The mother snarled, her blade raised. "You will not take her," she growled, her voice shaking the very walls. The raider leader laughed, cruel and hollow. "Then you will watch your human bleed." At his signal, 3 raiders rushed Ethan. He swung desperately, his arms burning, his chest pounding with fear. But one struck him across the face, another kicked him down. The blade slipped from his hands, clattering against the stone. The child screamed, running toward him. Her glow flared brighter, filling the room with silver light. For a moment, even the raiders paused, shielding their eyes. The mother seized the chance, cutting through them with savage fury. She pulled Ethan up, her grip like iron. "You are weak, human," she spat, though her voice carried something else. Urgency, not insult. "You must learn, or you will die. And she will die with you." The raider leader retreated, his eyes burning with promise. "This is not the end," he said, his voice echoing like a curse. "The bond will bring war, and the human will be the first to fall. Then he vanished into the night with the surviving raiders, leaving smoke and silence behind. Ethan collapsed against the wall, gasping for breath, his body trembling. The child pressed against him, safe but crying. The mother stood tall, her blade dripping with alien blood, her golden eyes fixed on Ethan, fierce and unyielding. "You see now," she said, "the bond is danger. It makes you target. It makes us all target." Her words chilled him to the core. He realized the truth. His act of kindness had not just saved a life. It had painted a mark on him, a mark that enemies would never stop hunting. And now, he was no longer just a prisoner or a stranger. He was part of their war. The battle and the choice. The city did not sleep after the raid. Fires burned in the streets, soldiers shouted orders, alarms echoed across the stone towers. Ethan stood in the courtyard, his body aching, his arm wrapped in rough bandages. The child clung to him, her glowing eyes wide with fear. The mother stood beside him, her blade still wet with enemy blood, her armor cracked but her spirit unbroken. The elders gathered again, their robes glowing faintly in the firelight. Their faces were grim, their voices heavy with fear. "The raiders know," one elder said, his golden eyes sharp. "They will return, and they will not stop until the child is theirs." Another elder pointed at Ethan, his voice cold. "It is because of him. The human's blood has made the bond. The raiders hunt the bond, not only the child." The mother stepped forward, her voice like thunder. "He saved her life. Without him, she would be dead." But the elders were not moved. "Then his life belongs to her," they said. "And if he cannot protect her, he will bring her death." Ethan's hands tightened into fists. He wanted to shout that it wasn't fair, that he had never asked for this, but when he looked at the child's face pressed against his chest, trembling, he swallowed his anger. Fair or not, he was bound. The mother's gaze met his, fierce and unyielding. "You hear them," she said. "If you stay weak, you die. She dies, I die. You must fight." That night, training began. The mother did not treat him gently. She threw him into the dirt again and again, her blade flashing past his skin. "Again," she ordered, her voice cold as iron. "You cannot hesitate." Ethan gasped, his body burning, his muscles screaming. "I'm not a soldier," he said. Her answer was sharp. "You are now." Days passed in fire and sweat. He learned to hold the alien blade, to read the movements of an enemy. He learned how to strike, how to block, how to endure, and slowly, painfully, he grew stronger. The child watched from the side, cheering with bright eyes every time he rose. From the ground, her small voice gave him courage. "You can do it," she whispered. Though her words were strange, the meaning was clear. But even as he trained, the threat grew closer. The raiders did not hide. Their ships circled the skies at night, their shadows crossing the moon. Their signals filled the air, promises of war. The elders grew restless, the soldiers nervous. Everyone knew an attack was coming, and then it came. The night erupted in fire. Raiders stormed the city walls, their weapons blazing red, their voices screaming like beasts. The sky itself burned as ships rained destruction on the towers. Ethan stood with the soldiers, the child, hidden deep within the stronghold, the mother at his side, her golden eyes fierce, her blade ready. "This is the choice," she told him. "Fight and live, or run and die." The raiders hit the courtyard like a wave of darkness. Ethan raised his blade, his hand steady at last. One came at him with claws sharp as steel. He ducked low, drove the blade upward, and for the first time, he felt not fear, but focus. The raider fell, his body dissolving into smoke. Ethan gasped, staring at the weapon in his hand. He had done it. More came. He fought beside the mother, her strikes clean and perfect, his rough and desperate but effective. They moved together, almost as if guided by something deeper than training. Blood and sparks filled the air, screams echoed against stone walls. The enemy pressed hard, but Ethan refused to break. Then the raider leader appeared again, stepping through the flames. His red-marked armor glowed, his blade longer, sharper, alive with energy. He pointed at Ethan, his voice like poison. "The human dies tonight." The mother stepped forward to shield him, but Ethan stopped her. "No," he said, his voice steady. "This is my fight." She stared at him, searching his eyes, and for the first time her golden gaze softened, not weakness but respect. She nodded slowly. "Then fight, human." The duel was brutal. The Raider leader struck with inhuman speed. His blade raining fire, Ethan blocked, stumbled, rose again, every strike testing his strength. The crowd of soldiers and raiders circled, watching, waiting. The child's voice carried faintly through the flames, calling his name. Her glow shone, brighter. Filling his heart with fire, Ethan struck back, his blade clashing against the enemy's. Pain tore through his arm. Blood burned his eyes. But he refused to fall. One chance. That was all he had. He let the raider drive him back, then at the last moment twisted. His blade slid beneath the leader's guard, piercing deep. The raider roared, his armor cracking with red sparks before shattering. He collapsed, defeated. The battlefield went silent. The soldiers cheered. The raiders fled into the shadows, broken and beaten. Ethan stood shaking, his blade dripping with light. The mother stepped beside him, laying a hand on his shoulder. "You chose well," she said, her voice low but powerful. "You are not only human now. You are warrior." Ethan looked at her, then at the child running toward him, her arms wide. She threw herself against him, laughing with relief, her glow warm and soft. In that moment, he understood. This was more than survival, more than law. It was family, but deep inside he also knew the war was not over. The bond was only beginning, and the greatest choice was still to come. The mother's demand, the city still smoldered after the battle. Flames had been put out, bodies carried away, and the wounded tended. But the echoes of war clung to the air like smoke, heavy and unshakable. Ethan sat on the stone steps of the great hall, his body sore, his blade still marked with the raider leader's blood. The child rested beside him, her head against his arm, her silver glow soft and peaceful. For the first time since he had come to this world, Ethan felt something close to pride. He had fought, he had survived, he had protected the child. But as the moon rose over the black towers, he noticed the mother watching him. She stood in the shadows, golden eyes burning, her face unreadable, her silence heavier than any words. When the night deepened, she finally approached. Her armor was scarred, her blade still at her side, but her presence was stronger than ever. She stopped before him, her gaze fixed and unyielding. "You fought," she said in her broken human tongue. "You lived." Ethan nodded, his chest tight. "Yes, but it was not just me, it was you. It was her." He looked at the child. "We fought together." The mother's jaw tightened, her voice sharper. "No, not together. You chose to stand. You killed the leader. You are part of us now." Ethan frowned, confusion flickering in his eyes. "I already know I'm bound to the child," he said. "The elders made that clear." Her eyes narrowed, a fire sparking behind them. "Not only child," she said, her voice low, heavy with meaning. "You are bound to me." The word struck Ethan like a blade. He froze, unable to breathe. "What?" he whispered. The mother stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. "In our law," she said, "blood given to child is blood given to mother. You saved her. You carry her life. That makes you mine." Ethan's heart pounded, his thoughts a storm. He shook his head, rising to his feet. "I didn't do it for this. I didn't save her for some law or bond. I saved her because she was dying." The mother's eyes flared, her voice like thunder. "You think law cares for reason? You think bond cares for choice? No. The bond is truth. The bond is forever." The child stirred, looking up at them, her eyes wide. She did not speak, but her small hand held tighter to Ethan's sleeve, as if begging him not to leave. Ethan's heart twisted. He wanted freedom, he wanted his old life back, but how could he pull away when this child trusted him so completely? And now her mother demanded even more. The mother's voice softened slightly, but her power remained. You are warrior now. You fought beside me, you bled beside me. You belong with us. Her golden eyes searched his, not just fierce but burning with something deeper. Not gratitude, not duty. Something like claim, something like fire that refused to die. Ethan stepped back, shaking his head. I'm human, he said, his voice low. I don't belong here. I don't belong to anyone. Her expression hardened, her voice cutting through the night. Then you are fool. You belong already. Blood made the choice. The silence between them was sharp as a blade. The child's soft breathing was the only sound. The city beyond lay wounded but alive. And in that quiet moment, Ethan realized the truth. If he walked away, he would not only abandon the child, he would abandon the bond that had already changed them all. The mother stepped closer until her shadow covered him. Her voice dropped, low and dangerous. You can fight the bond, but you will lose. You can deny me, but the blood will not let you go. Her words carried not only threat, but something heavier, destiny. And in her eyes, Ethan saw no room for escape. He felt torn apart inside. His heart cried for freedom, yet his soul felt the pull of something larger than himself. The battle had proven he could fight, but this was not a battle of blades. This was a battle of choice, and his choice would change everything. At last Ethan spoke, his voice raw but steady. If I stay, it will not be because of your law. It will not be because the elders say, I must. It will not be because of chains. The mother's eyes narrowed, her breath sharp. Then why? She demanded, her voice trembling with anger and something else. Ethan looked at the child, her glowing eyes filled with trust, her small hand gripping his tightly. He looked at the mother, proud and fierce, but her golden eyes waiting, burning. He took a breath. If I stay, it will be by my choice, not by law. For the first time, the mother's face changed. Her eyes widened, not with rage, but with something softer, hidden beneath the fire. Respect, perhaps even the start of something more. The silence between them was no longer sharp but heavy with meaning the bond had already chosen. But now Ethan had spoken his own choice, and yet, even in that moment, shadows moved beyond the city walls. The raiders had not been defeated, only delayed, and their whispers carried across the night. The bond would not bring peace, it would bring war. The new path, the dawn rose over the alien city, painting the black towers in gold. But there was no peace in the morning air. Smoke still curled from broken walls, soldiers patrolled the streets, and the people whispered of another attack. The bond had saved the child. The bond had brought victory. But the bond had also painted a target on them all. Ethan walked through the courtyard, the child holding his hand, her silver glow brighter in the light. She skipped beside him, her laughter soft, but behind her joy was the shadow of danger. Every guard's eyes followed them, some with awe, some with suspicion, some with fear. To them he was no longer just a man, he was the human who carried alien blood, the warrior who had killed the raider leader, the outsider who was now family. The mother met him at the great hall, her armor polished, her golden eyes fierce as ever. She looked at him not as stranger, not as enemy, but as something heavier. She raised her hand, stopping him before he spoke. The elders call for you, she said, her voice steady but hard. They demand you swear yourself to us. To me? Before the next war begins. Ethan's chest tightened. He had expected this, yet the weight of the words pressed down like chains. He remembered his life on Earth, quiet, ordinary, alone. And now he stood on alien ground, bound by blood to a child and her mother. He had never imagined such a path, yet here it was, waiting for his answer. The elders gathered in the circle once more. Their robes glowed, their eyes sharp and ancient. They spoke in heavy tones, their words echoing across the chamber. The bond is law, they said. The bond is family. The bond is future. They looked at Ethan, their voices like thunder. You are one of us now. You will fight for us, bleed for us, live with us. The mother stepped beside him, her presence like fire. She placed her hand on the child's shoulder, then on Ethan's arm. You saved her with your blood. You fought with your strength, and now you must stay, not as stranger, not as prisoner, but as mate. Her words struck deep. The chamber fell silent, every eye waiting. The child looked up at him, her eyes glowing, her voice small but strong. Stay, please. Ethan's heart thundered. The law demanded he belong. The mother demanded he choose. The child begged he never leave. And inside him, a voice whispered of freedom, of escape. But another voice whispered louder, of the bond, of the battle, of the family he had found here. He remembered the mother's blade beside his, the child's hand clinging to him in the smoke. He remembered the fire of the raiders' strike, and the fire in his heart when he refused to fall at. Last, Ethan lifted his head, his voice steady and clear. I will stay, he said, the words echoing in the silent hall. But not because of your law, not because of chains, not because I am forced. He looked at the mother, his gaze locked. On her golden eyes, I stay because I choose. I choose her. He nodded to the child. And I choose you. The hall erupted in gasps, whispers spreading like wildfire. The elders' faces shifted from shock to something heavier. Respect. The mother's golden eyes widened, not with anger, but with something deeper. For the first time, she lowered her head, her voice softer. Then you are not mine by law. You are mine by choice. The child laughed with joy, her silver glow filling the hall. She hugged Ethan tightly, her small arms wrapped around him as if sealing the vow. And for a moment, in the center of that vast alien chamber, Ethan felt whole, not outsider, not prisoner, not stranger, but family. Yet beyond the city walls, shadows stirred. The raiders had not vanished. They whispered of the bond. They whispered of the human who had broken sacred lines. They whispered of war greater than before. And as the mother stood beside him, as the child clung to him, Ethan knew the truth. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. The new path stretched before him, filled with fire, danger, and destiny. He was no longer just Ethan of Earth. He was warrior, protector, father, and now, mate. The bond had chosen him. The mother had demanded him. But in the end, it was his choice that sealed it. And with that choice came a future no human had ever walked before.